You see that image everywhere, right?
Yeah.
The big jolly Buddha with the round belly, smiling, maybe holding some gold. It's become this, symbol.
It's definitely a popular figure globally. People recognize it instantly.
But here's the surprising thing, like right off the bat.
Huh.
That's probably not the actual historical Buddha.
Exactly. That figure, he's traditionally a Chinese monk named Hote, lived centuries after Siddhartha Gautama, the original Buddha.
And Siddhartha himself. The depictions we have show him quite lean, actually. Almost ascetic.
Yeah, very different. And what's really relevant for this deep dive is that Siddhartha, he did try extreme dieting, serious stuff, practiced severe asceticism, including, long fasts.
Sources say he got incredibly thin, like skin and bones, ribs showing.
Yes, the descriptions are quite vivid. He apparently felt he could touch his spine through his stomach. Extremely emaciated.
So he lost a ton of weight, no doubt. But it wasn't the path for him. Didn't lead to enlightenment.
No, he found it was just another extreme. It caused suffering, but didn't bring understanding.
He realized that neither, like the crazy indulgence of his youth, nor this super harsh self-denial was the answer.
Right. He needed something else. A middle way.
And that middle path he eventually found, which interestingly included some really simple ideas about eating. That's where we're diving in today. We've been looking at sources exploring this fascinating idea.
How some of this ancient practical wisdom, specifically about eating habits from Buddha, is actually being backed up incredibly strongly by modern science.
Yeah, the latest research on diet, weight loss, metabolic health, it's connecting these dots.
So we're going to unpack this material, pull out the key insights, and show you how applying principles linked to these old teachings might offer a more sustainable way to manage health and weight.
Right. The mission is to kind of cut through all the noise, help you understand what the science really says about these ancient ideas, and maybe find a path to feeling better without losing your mind, so to speak.
Okay, so where do we start? I think the most direct link, the clearest one, is probably the timing. When you eat.
Makes sense. Lots of ancient cultures and religions had food rules, right? But Buddha's advice to his monks was pretty straightforward about when they should eat.
Yeah, he basically told them, don't eat in the evening.
And his reason?
It was simple. He said because he avoided eating at night, he was, and I'm quoting loosely here, in good health, light, energetic, and lived comfortably. He figured his monks would get the same benefits.
Okay, fast forward a couple thousand years.
And boom. Modern science is saying something remarkably similar with this concept called time-restricted feeding, or TRF.
Right. The studies from Dr. Sachin Panda's lab at the Salk Institute are pretty famous here. The mice studies.
Those were really pivotal. Okay, so they took two groups of mice, fed them both this really unhealthy, high-fat, high-calorie diet, junk food for mice, basically.
Group 1 could eat whenever they wanted. 204/7 access. And, surprise, surprise,
They got fat, developed metabolic issues, diabetes, liver problems, the works. Pretty much what you'd expect.
but group 2, this is the kicker, they ate the exact same food,
Yeah.
the exact same number of calories.
But they could only eat within a specific time window each day, usually between 9 and 12 hours.
And the result?
It was amazing. These mice did not get obese. Their metabolic health was way better than the free-for-all group, even though they ate the same junk.
Oh.
And they even took mice that were already obese, switched them to this timed eating schedule, and they lost significant weight, 5 to 12% of their body weight on average.
So even for mice, when they ate seemed to matter hugely, maybe even more than what or how much in some ways.
And the why behind it, based on the sources, it just makes intuitive sense. Our bodies, they weren't really designed to be digesting food constantly around the clock.
Our fat cells are like energy banks here.
Exactly. You make deposits after a meal, then you're supposed to spend time between meals making withdrawals, burning that stored energy.
But if we're constantly eating...
We're just constantly depositing, never giving the system a chance to withdraw and burn, especially with modern diets, lots of sugar, processed stuff, keeping insulin high. It just promotes storage.
You see this in wild animals too, right? They eat according to their natural rhythms, their circadian clocks.
Yeah, a fox isn't raiding the fridge at 3 a.m. They eat, then they fast. They don't generally get obese like we do, or like our pets often do.
And it's not just mice theory. There are human studies on TRF now, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. They're really reinforcing these findings.
I saw one where just cutting out nighttime eating led to weight loss. Young guys lost about a pound in 2 weeks just by stopping eating after a certain hour, even with a fairly generous 13-hour window.
Right. And more restrictive windows tend to show more loss. Like there was another study with a really tight 4-hour window. They lost about 3 pounds over 8 weeks on average.
And Dr. Panda's team did a big human study, too, using a smartphone app, right?
Yes, that one was really interesting. They recruited overweight adults who were typically eating for like over 14 hours a day,
Yeah.
which is a lot of the day.
Yeah. So what do they ask them to do?
Just compress that eating window, aim for 10 to 12 hours instead of 14 plus. They did this for 16 weeks.
And the results? Just by changing the timing.
They lost over 7 pounds on average during those 16 weeks. That's about half a pound a week. And crucially, they followed up a year later.
And they kept it off.
Yep. They kept it off just by sticking to that shorter eating window, no calorie counting, no specific diet plan they had to follow, just the timing.
That's pretty compelling. It wasn't about deprivation, just structure.
And here's something really eye-opening from that study. Before they started, participants were eating over a third of their daily calories after 6 p.m.
A third after 6 p.m.
Wow.
Yeah, think about that. A huge chunk of food intake happening when your body is winding down, getting ready for rest, not really optimized for digestion and energy use, often unnecessary calories too.
So, okay, the practical takeaway here, kind of echoing Buddha's simple advice, is focus on when you eat.
That's the core idea. Limit your daily eating window. You don't have to go extreme right away. Maybe start with 12 hours, see how that feels. Then maybe try nudging it towards 10 hours once you're comfortable. And a big part of that is probably stopping eating earlier in the evening.
Definitely. That late night window, that's often when the mindless snacking happens, the junk food, the empty calories. Cutting that out aligns perfectly with our natural body clocks and metabolism.
And the sources frame this not as some crash diet, but as a permanent lifestyle shift.
Exactly. Sustainable. Aiming for maybe half a pound to a pound a week of weight loss, if that's the goal. That's realistic, achievable, and much easier to maintain long-term than drastic measures.
The advice seems to be, take it in steps. Stick with one window, like 12 hours, for at least a couple of weeks before trying to tighten it. Get used to it.
And the material does caution about, too many cheat days. Having one now and then is life, but too many can disrupt the rhythm you're building and make it harder to stay on track. Consistency seems key.
Makes sense. But okay, it can't just be about the clock, right? What you're actually putting in your mouth during that window must still matter.
Oh, absolutely. The timing is a powerful tool, but yeah, what you eat and how you live, that's also a huge piece of the puzzle. And this is where the wisdom kind of expands and the science follows.
So on the what to eat front, what's the approach here? Is it super restrictive?
Actually, one of the refreshing things, drawing from that idea that Buddha ate what was offered to him by lay people, is that there aren't loads of complicated rules about specific foods you must eat or avoid.
Okay.
The emphasis seems to be more on finding foods you genuinely like, foods that are filling and satisfying to you. Because let's face it, diets that feel overly restrictive, that ban all your favorite things, they're just really hard to stick with long term.
True. But surely there's guidance on some things.
Yeah.
Like sugar and processed foods.
Oh yeah, the sources are very clear on that. Our preference for sweetness, that's innate, it's biological. But the modern food environment has totally warped our bliss point.
Bliss point.
Yeah, the level of sweetness or saltiness or fatness, that gives us the maximum pleasure. The more hyper-palatable, intensely sweet foods we eat, the higher that point goes. We need more and more intensity to get the same satisfaction.
Right, like tolerance building up.
Exactly. And this is where it gets tricky. Processed foods are often, deliberately engineered to hit that bliss point hard and fast. They combine fat and sugar in ways rarely found in nature, creating this potent reward signal in the brain.
Almost like a drug, some sources suggest, designed to make you crave more, even if you're not hungry.
That's the comparison often made. Think about the foods people report having addictive-like eating patterns with. Pizza, chocolate, chips, ice cream. It's usually those engineered combinations.
Where do, carrots or broccoli fall on that list?
Usually way down at the bottom. They don't provide that same intense, rapid reward.
But the good news, the sources say, is that this bliss point isn't set in stone.
Correct. As you reduce your intake of ultra-processed foods and added sugars, your palate actually adjusts. Things start tasting sweet again that didn't before. Natural flavors become more appealing. You need less intensity.
What about snacking? Is it good? Bad? Depends.
The sources make a distinction. High-protein snacks are generally better at managing actual hunger compared to high-carb ones, which can sometimes just spike blood sugar and lead to more cravings.
But the bigger point.
The really crucial insight is don't snack if you're not genuinely hungry.
Because,
Because research shows snacking when you're just bored or stressed or because the clock says so, it doesn't actually make you eat less at your next meal. It just piles on extra calories throughout the day. That mindless grazing is a real killer for weight management.
okay. The material also seemed a bit skeptical about food fads, focusing too much on single ingredients.
Yeah, there's a healthy dose of skepticism there towards the intense focus on, say, antioxidants or specific fatty acids or whatever the superfood of the week is.
Why the skepticism?
The perspective presented is that the evidence for huge dramatic effects from isolating these single components is often pretty weak or conflicting or based on studies that don't reflect real-world eating. The benefits are likely subtle, if they exist, compared to the impact of your overall dietary pattern and timing. Don't sweat the small stuff so much, focus on the big picture.
Got it. What about meat? Vegetarianism comes up often in discussions around Buddhism.
It does. The sources discuss it, particularly highlighting the environmental angle. Beef production, for example, has a really significant environmental footprint compared to growing plants. Much higher emissions, land use, water use.
But it acknowledges most people aren't a vegetarian.
Right. So the suggestion is if you do eat meat, maybe make more sustainable choices more often, opting for chicken or fish over beef, for instance. It also pushes back strongly against that old myth that you can't get complete protein from plants.
Oh yeah, the complete protein thing.
It's largely debunked. A varied vegetarian or vegan diet, as long as it provides enough overall calories, easily meets all protein needs. You don't need to meticulously combine foods at every meal. Just eat a variety of plant foods throughout the day.
Okay. Two other things often discussed. Alcohol and artificial sweeteners. What's the take?
Check cautionary on both. Alcohol, it can easily become a crutch for stress or unwinding. The sources suggest finding healthier, more mindful ways to cope.
And the guidelines for drinking seem all over the place.
They really are. National recommendations vary wildly. Plus, studies consistently show people tend to underestimate how much they actually drink. One recommendation mentioned is limiting intake to maybe no more than 2 standard drinks per week.
Per week, that's quite low.
It is compared to many guidelines. A key reason cited, beyond the calories and potential for dependence, is sleep disruption. Even moderate alcohol intake can really mess with your sleep quality.
And artificial sweeteners. Avoid.
That's the general advice from these sources, yeah. Avoid them.
Why? They have no calories.
The concern isn't calories. It's the growing evidence suggesting they might interfere with glucose metabolism, how your body handles sugar, and also potentially disrupt the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria in your gut that play a huge role in health. These effects might happen even in people who seem healthy.
Interesting. So moving beyond just what we consume, the mind-body connection seems absolutely central here. Things like exercise, sleep, emotions.
Totally central. Exercise, for instance. It's not just about burning calories, although that helps.
So what's the main benefit in this context?
The insight is that exercise makes dieting, or changing your eating habits, more effective. It's a massive stress reliever. It boosts mood. Remember those studies on stressed mice? Exercise can literally help break that cycle of stress, leading to negative feelings or comfort eating. It gives you a healthy alternative, an outlet that isn't food.
And sleep. You mentioned it with alcohol, but it seems huge on its own.
It's non-negotiable. The link between poor sleep and obesity is incredibly strong, backed by tons of research. You mentioned the stat, over a third of U.S. adults get less than the recommended 7 hours.
And how does lack of sleep impact weight or eating?
It throws your appetite hormones completely out of whack. Ghrelin, the hormone that makes you feel hungry, goes up. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, goes down, so you literally feel hungrier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you tend to crave more calorie-dense, high-carb foods, especially later in the day and the evening. That finding about evening snacking increasing by over 50% linked directly to short sleep. Plus, poor sleep reduces insulin sensitivity and even slightly lowers your metabolic rate. You burn fewer calories.
So getting 7+ hours isn't just nice, it's fundamental for managing appetite and weight.
Absolutely fundamental.
Okay, what about emotional eating? Using food for comfort or reward? So common.
So common. Using food to cope with stress, boredom, sadness, even minor irritations, it often becomes this conditioned, almost Pavlovian response. You feel a certain way, you reach for a certain food.
And it works, right? Temporarily. That comfort food gives you a little dopamine hit.
It does, temporarily. But the relief is short-lived, and then often comes guilt or regret. Plus, there's that study from Ohio State showing stress can actually slow down your metabolism after you eat a high-fat meal.
Seriously, so you eat the comfort food and burn fewer calories from it.
Exactly. It's a potential double whammy. Over time, that could add up to significant weight gain, like 11 pounds a year in that study's estimate. It creates this vicious cycle. Eat to feel better, feel bad about eating, feel stressed, eat to feel better again.
So what's the alternative?
Hmm.
The healthy coping mechanisms.
The insight is to find other ways. Trying to address the actual source of the stress if possible. Connecting with people's social support is a powerful buffer against stress. Finding non-food activities you enjoy. And trying not to just sit and stew or ruminate on the negative feelings. Also being aware of that licensing effect.
Licensing, what's it?
It's when you feel you've earned a treat because you did something good. Like, I went to the gym, so I deserve this giant muffin. Or I recycled, so I can eat this whole bag of chips.
Ah, I see. Using one behavior to justify another, less helpful one.
Precisely. And it subtly connects back to that Buddhist idea of doing good deeds for their own sake, not expecting a reward or using it as an excuse for something else.
Which leads nicely into mindful eating, which is basically the opposite of mindless eating.
Exactly. And the sources point out we make like hundreds of food decisions every single day, most of them. Totally unconscious, automatic, mindless. And that leads to eating more than we need and often choosing less healthy options.
What are the types of mindless eating?
The sources describe a few common ones. There's meal multitasking eating while you're distracted by your phone, the TV, work. Studies show you eat significantly more, like with the classic movie popcorn studies.
Guilty.
We all are sometimes. Then there's emotional eating, which we just talked about. And the third is full not finished.
Full not finish.
Yeah, ignoring your body's actual signals of fullness and relying on external cues instead, like cleaning your plate just because it's there or finishing the whole bag because it's open, even if you stopped being hungry halfway through.
So what are the practical tips for being more mindful?
They're actually pretty simple, just require practice. Eat without distractions, put the phone away, turn off the TV, pay attention to the food itself, the smell, the texture, the taste. Slow down your eating pace. Give your brain time to register fullness.
Any other tricks?
Even small environmental changes can help, like deciding to only eat in the kitchen or dining room, not on the couch, or making yourself pause and just say out loud why you want to eat if you know you're not physically hungry, just bringing awareness to the impulse.
And plate size, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly big factor. Plates, especially in places like the US, have gotten much larger over the last few decades, and our brains use the plate size as a cue for how much to eat.
So using smaller plates can actually help you eat less without feeling deprived.
Exactly. You fill up a smaller plate, it looks like a full portion. Your brain is more satisfied than if you had the same amount of food on a huge plate. Using bowls instead of plates for meals can also help with portion control.
Okay, this is all great in theory, but life happens. What about navigating real-world situations? Parties, work stress, family habits.
The material offers strategies for those too. Like, for dates, suggest an active outing instead of just dinner or drinks. With family, maybe gently establish a kitchen close time in the evening to curb that group grazing habit.
Work stress.
Take short breaks. Go for a quick walk outside. Do a 1-minute mindfulness exercise at your desk. Acknowledge that working from home or doing shift work presents unique challenges, but the principles still apply. Even shift workers can benefit from a consistent eating window, even if that window falls at odd hours.
Jet lag.
The advice is usually to adapt to the new time zone's eating schedule as quickly as possible. Get on local time for meals right away.
Okay, there was a section that really challenged a common idea. Food waste, the whole finish your plate thing.
Right. That idea that you must clean your plate to avoid wasting food, often tied to guilt about world hunger.
How does this approach reframe that?
The insight is simple but kind of profound. Forcing yourself to eat food your body doesn't need is also waste. It's just wasting it inside your own body, potentially harming your health rather than putting it in the bin or compost.
So overeating is waste. It just happened earlier.
Exactly. And overeating doesn't actually help anyone who's hungry elsewhere in the world. Better strategies for reducing waste are shopping more realistically, paying attention to portion sizes when cooking or ordering, and yes, using smaller plates. It's okay to leave food if you're full.
And maybe one of the deepest connections here is the idea that hunger itself isn't always true hunger. It's often habit.
Yes, this is a really powerful concept. Think back to Pavlov's dogs salivating at the bell. We condition ourselves in similar ways.
How so?
We train ourselves to feel hungry. At certain times, noon is lunchtime, 7 p.m. is dinner time, or in specific situations, sitting down to watch TV, feeling bored or stressed, completely separate from whether our body actually needs fuel right then.
So that pang I feel at 1 p.m. might just be the clock, not my stomach.
It very well could be. Or it could be the cue of seeing colleagues head out for lunch. The implication is huge. If hunger is often a conditioned habit loop, there's a cue, a routine, eating, and a reward, temporary satisfaction, reduced boredom, then you can actually rewire that loop.
How do you rewire it?
When you feel that urge, that conditioned hunger, first, notice the cue. What just happened? What time is it? Where are you? How are you feeling? Then consciously choose a different routine. Instead of automatically eating, maybe go for a walk, drink a glass of water, call a friend, do a few stretches. Find a different way to get a reward, like feeling refreshed or connected.
What about real hunger, the physical kind?
Oh, true physiological hunger is real, absolutely. Your body needs nourishment. The point isn't to ignore that. It's to recognize that not every urge to eat is true hunger, and you don't have to act on every single craving or pang the instant it appears.
Just acknowledge it. Okay, I feel a craving.
Exactly. Acknowledge it as just a feeling, a sensation, like clouds passing in the sky. It arises, and if you don't feed it, it will eventually pass. You learn you can tolerate that discomfort.
This ties into another practice mentioned, gratitude, or saying grace before meals.
Yes, that ancient practice of just pausing before you eat, taking a moment for reflection, for gratitude. It doesn't have to be religious.
How does that help, according to the sources?
It's a simple act of mindfulness. It breaks the automatic, mindless shoveling of food. When you pause and feel thankful, maybe for the food itself, the
Yeah.
farmers who grew it, the person who cooked it, or simply the fact that you have food, it brings presence to the meal. It makes you more aware.
And that awareness can influence your choices during the meal. Eating slower, noticing fullness.
Precisely. It shifts the whole experience from consumption to appreciation.
Meditation also comes up, often seen as purely mental or spiritual, but there are physical connections.
Absolutely. And the core aim of many meditation traditions, including Buddhist ones, is often described as awakening, which really just means developing full awareness or mindfulness. That applies directly to our relationship with our bodies and food.
What kind of meditation are we talking about? Does it have to be complicated?
No, the sources suggest very simple practices, sitting comfortably, maybe setting a timer for a few minutes, and just focusing on the sensation of your breath. Or doing a body scan, mentally checking in with different parts of your body, noticing sensations without judgment.
And how does that help with eating or weight?
Studies are showing that regular mindfulness meditation can actually reduce food cravings, improve body image, and lead to healthier eating behaviors.
What's the mechanism?
It helps you create that crucial pause, that space between the stimulus, the craving, the stressful feeling, the sight of tempting food, and your habitual reaction, which might be to eat automatically. You learn to observe the urge without immediately acting on it.
So it helps break the autopilot.
Exactly. Regular practice literally rewires neural pathways in the brain, strengthening your ability to respond consciously and intentionally, rather than just being driven by old habits and impulses.
Okay, one last major theme, body image. There was a striking analogy used, defiling the temple.
Yes, it points out this common disconnect. We might obsess about our external appearance, yet treat our bodies poorly through unhealthy diets, lack of sleep, constant stress, essentially defiling this amazing vessel that carries us through life.
And the core insight here is kind of counterintuitive for weight loss, right? About hating your body.
Very counterintuitive for many. The message strongly coming through the sources is that hating your body, criticizing it constantly, that doesn't fuel lasting positive change. In fact, it usually hinders it. It often leads to more emotional eating, more stress, more giving up.
So you need to appreciate your body before you can change it effectively.
That seems to be the key insight. Cultivating some level of appreciation, acceptance, maybe even love for your body as it is now is crucial. A positive body image is linked to better adherence to healthy habits and less disordered eating.
The temple analogy helps there.
It does. Think about it. You wouldn't go litter in a beautiful temple or a pristine national park. You treat it with respect. The idea is to extend that same respect and kindness to your own body. Be thankful for what it allows you to do, even if it's not perfect by some external standard. Treat it gently.
Okay, so bringing this all together, summarizing this deep dive, what's the core takeaway?
The core message really seems to be this powerful convergence. Ancient principles, particularly around the timing of eating and the cultivation of mindfulness ideas we can trace back to Buddha's teachings, are being strongly validated by modern science.
And this combination offers a different path.
Yeah, it points towards a potentially more sustainable, less crazy-making path for health and weight management. One that's less about harsh restrictions and more about building awareness, developing consistent, sensible habits, and fostering a kinder, more respectful relationship with your body and with food itself.
But it's important to remember, right, that for Buddha himself, this wasn't the end goal, weight loss or physical health.
Absolutely. His ultimate aim was much deeper. It was about awakening, freeing the mind from the roots of suffering, which he identified as greed, hatred, and delusion. Physical well-being was a support for that journey, perhaps, but not the destination itself.
And the sources also touch on his humanity, his own complexities, leaving his family, for instance.
Right. It reminds us that even these profound figures were human, grappling with difficult choices and imperfections. It wasn't about achieving some kind of flawless perfection.
So as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
If we've explored how hunger, something that feels so real and urgent, can often be a conditioned habit just running on autopilot.
What other hungers in your life, urges, desires, automatic reactions, maybe emotional patterns might also be based more on conditioning than on genuine present moment need?
And how might bringing a bit more of that mindful awareness, that middle way perspective, help you navigate those areas too, perhaps finding more balance and freedom there as well?